Hey everybody, Janice here. Today I wanted to show you how I created this cute Valentine's Day treat bag. Now, I participated in Richard Godai's Make, Live, Share challenge for the week, and he created a super cute treat bag, and I was inspired by what he made. So I created my own, and I'm gonna go ahead and show you how I made this bag, okay? And then specifically how I made these cute concentric hearts little embellishment. All right, let's get started. Okay guys, so here we go. I started off with a piece of paper that's 4 inches by 12 inches long, okay? And we're gonna start scoring at our 2-inch mark. So here, I'm gonna score at the 2-inch mark. And I am using my Scor-Pal, my board from Scor-Pal, I love it. Okay, so then we have our 2-inch, and then from there, you're gonna go 3.5 inches over, which is gonna land us at 5.5, and I'm gonna do a score line here. Okay, and then 2 inches for our side, so that's gonna put us at 7.5, and do a score line there. And then another 3.5 for my other side, so there's half, and then 1, 2, 3 will put us at 11. And this extra inch right here is gonna be what we use to glue and adhere our sides together. Okay, so we just created the lines for our bag. So again, 2 inches, 5.5 inches, 7.5 inches, and 11 inches score line. Then we're gonna turn our paper the opposite direction. And we're gonna score at the 1-inch line. This is gonna create our base. So I'm scoring all the way down to 1 inch, all the way down. Okay, so you probably can't see on camera, but we've scored each of those measurements and then the 1 inch going across the base. And so now I'm going to fold. And if you've noticed, I've scored down, so I'm going to fold in the opposite direction that I scored. So I'm going to turn this over and I'm going to fold, and you can actually feel your score line, so you can just fold and then crease right at each score line. So here's my second one, and score that there. All right, and then my last one to fold is going to be that 1-inch line that I created for my base. All the way down on there. Okay, and so basically I've created most of my score lines. The only other score line I need to create is the score line that's going to be between my 2-inch sections, because that's going to help it to fold and basically give this nice crease on in the kind of the side area so that you can fold it and put things in it nicely. So I'm going to actually score it on the opposite side because I want the folds to be opposite of my other folds. So here's my first 2-inch section here. I'm going to fold it here in the middle, so that would be at the 11 there. And then my second 2-inch section was right here, so I'm going to score that at the middle section here. Okay, and then because I scored it this way, I'm going to fold it in the opposite direction. And for this one, since I don't necessarily need a really tight crease, I'm just going to fold it with my hands there. See that? Okay, and then this one as well. There we go. Okay, so my next step to create this little bag is to create my flaps. So I'm going to cut basically at my 2-inch score line. So here's my first 2-inch score line, and I'm just going to cut at the 1-inch, up to the 1-inch section here. And that's going to create one of my bottom flaps. And then here's my second 2-inch section. And I'm going to cut up to that 1-inch score line there. And the 1-inch score line here. And I'm going to go ahead and cut this little extra piece off as well, because that will help us to fold everything together. Okay. So I've done my scoring, I've cut my flaps, and now I'm going to go ahead and put some adhesive down so that I can start gluing this together. So my adhesive strips, I'm just going to use some double-sided tape. You could use liquid adhesive, whichever adhesive you'd like, but this stuff is pretty fabulous first I'm gonna put a couple of strips down that extra 1-inch flap that I said earlier that we were gonna put our adhesive on. And I'm gonna do a couple of strips of this since I'm using the 1/4 inch double-sided. Okay, so I'm gonna put that down. Okay, and then I'm also gonna put some on the 2-inch flap so that it will stick down and create that base section. So here's my first 2-inch flap. And there. Okay, and then my second 2-inch section. Here and here. All right, now you can peel off this backing pretty easily. Just kind of rub it down real well. And you could use your fingernail, but I have this awesome tool called the Bloom tool, and it has a little pick at the bottom. I love it. It makes it really easy because it's, you know, it's real tiny and real pointy, and it helps to get in there. So first I'm going to peel off the backing to the 1-inch flap section and see how easy that is. It just peels it off right for me. And then I'm going to glue or adhere those two together first, okay? So you can kind of see that adhesive right there. It's kind of shiny. So I'm going to fold it down and I'm going to basically adhere it to that opposite side flap, okay? So here I go, making sure it's lined up real well. Okay, so now I've created my bag, all right? So now I need to fold those bottom flaps in and adhere those. So I'm going to start with taking the backing off of this section first. And this one. And I'm going to go ahead and press it down. And this first section here, press it down and forward. And then this second section will close right up over it. I'm going to turn it upside down. Oops. Now make sure this other section is inside. There we go. And I'm going to turn it upside down and just crease it real well. Press down in there so that it adheres, it sticks to it. Okay. And my last section here, take that tape off. There's one. And you know what? I probably should have done this before putting that flap down. So there you go. Take off the backing for both sections. Anyway, I got the backing off, and you're just basically going to press that flap down. And I'll go ahead and use my Bloom tool and then just press it down and make sure that everything's stuck together. Okay, y'all, that's it. We've now created the base of our bag, the base of our little treat bag, and we can now embellish it. Now you can see here, since we put that score line, it bends real well, and this one bends real well too. So one of my favorite ways to kind of close this up, you know, you can put a little ribbon around it or maybe punch some holes and thread a ribbon. One of my easiest ways is to create a ribbon band, okay? And so let me go ahead and throw in some of my treats. I made this for my coworkers, and I'm gonna throw in some Hershey's Kisses. I'm gonna close it up. And what I created was a little band. I took 8 inches of this Fun Stamper's Journey black and white licorice ribbon, gingham ribbon, and I basically just put some double-sided tape. I kind of taped it and adhered it together and created a band. And basically I'm just going to slide it over and on top of my bag. Voila! It's one of my favorite ways to close and seal a little treat bag. And I didn't have to punch, I didn't have to do anything. But we're not going to finish here because remember, here's what our finished bag looks like. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to take a moment to show you how I made this concentric hearts section. All right, so here we go. To create this little fun concentric heart embellishment, I used Fun Stamper's Journey Heartfelt die set. It's got 7 dies in it. And for my little embellishment, I used set or die number 1 and number 3, so this one right here, and I'm just assuming that I'm going from 1 being the smallest die in the set, so 1 being the smallest one here, and then this one here being die number 3, okay? And if you'll notice, I've taped it onto this piece of candy apple cardstock, Fun Stampers Journey candy apple cardstock. And I've used some low tack tape. This is actually washi tape, some old washi tape that I've just had on hand. And it's low tack enough so it doesn't pull off any of the fibers from the cardstock. And notice how I placed it onto my cardstock. It kind of overlaps just a wee bit, 1 and 3, but that's okay. It still cuts and it's beautiful. But that's how I created my little outline of my heart. So I'll go ahead and peel this off because I've already run it through my Journey Grand. So pull off the tape, and this will just pop right up and out. So there's my little background, my negative, and then it's going to give me a little heart that I can use later on a different project. But for this project, this is what I wanted. Okay, so my outline, so this will be my small one. And then for my larger heart, I used die number 4 and number 5. Okay, so this one is 4, again, going from 1 being the smallest to number 7 being this largest one right here. Okay, so again, I've already run this through the Journey Grand just for the sake of time. So I'm going to put that tape off to the side. Here's my little extra piece, and then again, my heart, my super cute heart that I can use on a different project, and my outline of my large heart for this project. Okay, so how did I put those two together? Remember, again, this is what I'm going for. Basically, it's real simple. I just created, a little hole in the center of each heart, and I connected them with the jump ring. Now, technically, it's not quite a jump ring. I didn't have a jump ring that was thin enough to go through the hole that I created, so I basically used some jewelry wire that I had. It's 24 gauge, so it's really quite small, and it'll go through my hole just fine. And how I punched the hole, because there's not too much space down here in the center, but there's enough for a small hole. So I had some foam, and I basically just used a pin, a sewing pin, and I just went right through the middle and made sure my pin went all the way through, kind of moved it around a little bit to create, you know, enough room for my wire to go through. So there's that, you can see that. And then I did the same thing for my small one. There's a little space right here that I can puncture with this pin. And I did that there. Again, once again, making sure my pin goes all the way through. Moving around just a little bit, not too much because there's not much space and it could rip and not go so well for you. Okay, so I'm pulling my pin out. Again, you can kind of see that hole there. And my first step is to put the jump ring or the little piece of wire that you had through the biggest heart. Okay, so there it goes, through that big one, there. And then connect it to the second one, the smaller one. And put that through. And then close it up. And this gauge, the 24 gauge, is fairly, I say fairly, very pliable, so you can kind of close it real well and press and squeeze, and then the wire will stay. Okay, so there it is. I've created my fun little embellishment that will then go onto my bag, okay, just like I did here. And to finish it off, you can create a bow. You can, what I did was I did my bow, which I adhered to, you can see there, I adhered it to my little ribbon band, and I finished it off, topped it off with a beautiful sparkle drop, Fun Stampers Journey sparkle drop. Okay, well, if you have any questions about how I did the bag or anything like that, just leave a comment in the video. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed it, learned something new, and we'll see you next time.